On the night before autumn 2017, a monster lurked in the shadows on the streets of London, preying on unsuspected women. But it would take police 3 years and an appeal before they could finally solve this case. Realistically though, the police were puzzled how the man in question could keep striking out year after year on multiple victims and go undetected. In fact, it was the perpetrator who would thankfully seal his own fate by eventually handing himself into police. But how did he evade capture for so long? What steps did he take in order to avoid being caught? And why did he eventually hand himself in? Are a few questions that will be answered as we take a look into this case. This is the story of Francis Mukendi, aka the TikTok rapist. On the 21st of September 2017, Francis Mukendi would follow a young woman as she walked home from Camden tube station after a night out with friends. This is the first reported incident, but police firmly believe more victims could have came before. As the first reported victim had entered a shared hallway, Francis told her to get down on her knees while putting a knife to her neck. The woman later described feeling terrified as she was forced to perform an oral sex act on Francis as he pressed the knife on her throat. The first incident was captured on video camera. Francis recorded it on his mobile phone. The vicious assault would only end after the girl's flatmate opened the front door and scared Francis away. Just under 1 year on, a separate attack took place on the 18th of June 2018, with a further 3 taking place in September and November of the same year. Reports don't go into detail on those attacks, rather say that all 4 mirrored each other. Francis would follow them home until they got into a shared hallway or something similar. He would wait for the victim to pull out their keys and then produced a knife, or in one case a hammer, as they were doing so. After pulling the knife out or hammer, he then forced them to perform a sex act on him. Up until this point, an investigation was well underway. Police had connected all cases due to the similar nature and the fact that they had all taken place within Camden. But they still hadn't caught their man, due to him wearing a disguise, either a hoodie or balaclava, also wearing gloves to avoid leaving DNA at the scene. Just over 1 year on from the last reported incident, Francis would strike out again in December of 2019. This time it had been slightly different. The victim recalled seeing Francis on the stairs after she had entered her block of flats. He asked her how she was and pleaded with her to kiss him. She thought it was harassment and wanted to move on quick, so she told him, "Yeah, I've got to go home, I live on the 4th floor." To this, Francis pushed her against the wall. Before she could even ask what he was doing, he produced a kitchen knife. She started to cry out and pleaded for him not to hurt her. "Shut up," he said. "Get down on your knees and suck you know what." She didn't fight back, and it was then she was forced to perform the sex act. So, for the 6th time, police received a report of an attack taking place within Camden under all too familiar circumstances, but again Francis managed to evade the law and continued to go about his daily business. Over the span of the reported rapes, Francis spent his time making music under the alias Raver Artist. He wasn't big by any means, but some questionable lyrics have emerged since this case made its way to the public eye. "I'm fed up. I ain't had no sex, so I'm stressed out. I'm always on the roads, giving no fucks." He raps about not being able to have consensual sex. Very disturbing indeed. On the 21st of December 2020, police eventually released this CCTV still of a rapist who they believed was responsible for 6 separate attacks on women within the Camden area. 1 day later, Francis handed himself into police. But rather than admit to the offences, he presented himself to clear his name. He said, "I did not commit this rape. I did not see any rape, and I was not aware of any rape. I wasn't aware that any offence had been committed until I was referred to in a news article. I sometimes frequent the area to see friends, and I also used to see my ex-girlfriend there." But when officers searched his home address, it painted a completely different story, and his final days walking free for the foreseeable future anyway were finally over. Upon searching his address, police found a zombie knife and a lock knife, which they believe were used in the attack. Francis said he had these because he used them in music videos to look cool. He never took them out of the house, he said, because he's well known and respected within Islington, whatever that's supposed to mean. But the nail in the coffin came from a search of Francis's MacBook. Police delved into the laptop's trash can and recovered a video clip of a woman weeping as she was being raped in a hallway. An information systems expert for the police said the video's metadata showed it had been recorded on September 21st, 2017 at roughly 12:30 am. Internet history showed it had been downloaded to the laptop on November 5th, 2018. Other data showed the video had been deleted and sent to the trash can 85 seconds after it was downloaded. When asked about the video, Francis said he'd first seen it in 2017 on a phone he had bought from a friend for £40 worth of drugs. But of course, this video was of Francis raping the first reported victim back in 2017. He was eventually charged with 4 counts of rape, 3 counts of attempted rape, 2 counts of sexual assault, and 4 counts of possession of a bladed article. He pled not guilty, so he went on trial. In court, the jury was shown evidence of CCTV footage where Francis would follow his victims home, and they were also showed TikTok music videos created by Francis showing the knives used in the attack, along with him wearing that same jumper he had been spotted in on the public CCTV appeal. Although he pled not guilty to all the charges that were brought against him, a jury did find him guilty on all counts. At a further date, he was handed a life sentence with the minimum term of 15 years. I think what's most disturbing about this case is the fact that these women were targeted where they were supposed to feel most safe, just outside of their home. If that isn't their safe space, then what could be? It wouldn't be hard to think that these women will no doubt suffer traumatic mental health issues moving forward. We can only hope they get the support that they need. The police also believe there could be multiple victims that haven't came forward yet to make a report to the police. So if you do see this and you believe that you've been attacked by Francis, then the police do want you to come forward. Don't be afraid. They're there to help.